Hello, hello, friends. We are sitting on a beautiful evening today. So we do have humidity, we do have some warmth, but it's summer, right? It's the middle of summer, and this is actually perfect weather to do a garden tour in. So I try to do one about once a month, it kind of depends. And this is kind of the high summer one right before the big push of August. So not everything is quite at its summer peak yet, and that's kind of why I think it's a fun place to start. So we can just go around and see what's going on. Why not start across the driveway? Because we did do some different plantings over here. We planted these 3 containers together, which you can see they're getting quite big. So what I like this year is this, I got a sweet potato vine that was kind of new to me, and it said if given a trellis it will climb up, and it is. So what I like about it is not only does it cascade over on each side along with the ivy here in front, it really kind of starts intertwining with the mandevilla. So what's nice is it really starts filling in on the trellis, since mandevilla for me takes a little while depending on what size I get. What I love about this is in the center you can see some of the lantana is starting to do well. It loves the summer heat. It loves the summer sun. This is an area that gets more, I'm gonna just say part sun. It probably gets about maybe 4 hours of sun during the day. So honestly, I know mandevilla, especially as the tree grows, keeps growing behind me, mandevilla aren't necessarily gonna be the best thing long-term for here as they want a lot of sun, but they're still doing well. This is that peach Sunday mandevilla, so it has that really beautiful color. And it's just kind of a fun, I think the lantana, as it keeps blooming more, really goes well with this mandevilla. We also, in this bed, planted a couple new hydrangeas. I love colored hydrangea, and usually I don't have good luck with them. So this spring I put in 2 Seaside Serenade Cape Cod hydrangea. It's a Monrovia introduction. I bought them at the store and I really love them. So what I like about them is they're supposed to bloom on both old and new wood. Very easy to take care of. They do well in part sun, which we have here. I do have them on my watering system, so they do get the moisture they need. They definitely want to have, even moisture. And so they've already, if you can look closely at them here, they put on lots of new growth. So do you see all that brighter green? Both shrubs have put on a lot of new growth. And so obviously they were forced to bloom when I purchased them. So from the store, they came home with some beautiful blue and pink blooms on them. I think they will probably put on another set of blooms. Look at all that new growth on it. I think probably this year yet, since they bloom on new wood. So I'm giving them a little bit of time, but I'm pretty excited to see how they do. So from there, you can kind of just see my front entry, which has really filled in the last couple of years. So obviously I want it for a screen. I want it to keep my house a little bit more hidden, but also act as a nice entry point. And the midsummer kind of time is when it really starts showing off. So we have lots of beautiful Russian sage. I think this is the denim and lace variety. We have lots of millennium allium that just are about to pop. I mean, look how full of blooms these are. They're loaded all over with blooms. What I also like, I did have to stake the agave I put in here just because obviously it wasn't rooted in. I could probably take out that bamboo TP now, but it really has just helped stabilize that. So you can see just the beginning of the millennium allium blooms that will kind of cascade all around. There's some beautiful Lindsay skyward cypress. It's a bigger one here, I just put in this year, so it hasn't fully set in, but it's starting to get some nice leaves on it, which they're needles. They're deciduous though, they fall off because it's a bald cypress. I did trim back all of my cat's pajamas nepeta. So I don't always, but I decided to give it a go this year. And if you look at all that new growth on them. So if you look close, you see all these new little shoots coming off of it. That's where we're gonna get tons of blooms here really soon. So we'll get a whole new flush of blooms. And honestly, against the backdrop of this Russian sage, I mean, it just looks so good. As we peep around the corner here and kind of walk into the driveway, this is always one of my favorite views of the house. I feel like especially kind of in the evening when the sun is setting, this is when everything just kind of highlights and glows. You can kind of see some shadows. It's kind of just one of my favorite times. I think it's fun when every yard has different moments, both morning, evening, with different light, with different sun. I think all of that can be really shown off at different times. So what we're coming up to is kind of the front entry. I want to show you the fountain area, but I also especially want to show you all of the Helen von Stein or big ear stockies, the lamb's ear that I talk about all the time, and how much they filled in now that it's summer. So we're going on probably the 3rd year of using this lamb's ear as a ground cover. So the Helen von Stein, also known as big ears, it's kind of more grown for their foliage. So you can see there's a few shoots of flower. I usually nip these off because I don't really grow it for the flowers. They don't bloom near as heavily as other varieties do. And honestly, I like it as a ground cover. My whole method for gardening, no matter where it is trying to cover all the ground as possible. Obviously right up in here, these boxwood are not full-sized yet. I want them to eventually touch each other as they are up kind of more in that center area. Because anytime the ground is exposed, it dries out quicker or it has room for weeds. I want this to be closed in, and that's why the stockies all around the front just offers that perfect cover. Along with that, my fountain has been doing really well this year. This is in year 2 for this antique trough that's used as a fountain. And you can see that this beautiful, so this is a heptacodium or 7 sunflower. It's in its third year too, I believe. What I really like about it is it's kind of a more dappled tree. It's a little bit more ornamental, but it blooms really late in the season. So more usually around maybe late July into August, it starts blooming, which is kind of fun because most trees would be done by then. But you can see here, the front porch is really putting on just kind of all of its texture and color. So we have lots of elephant ear up there. I have some kind of like different things that I always bring out of the plant room. So I have philodendron, I have obviously that sago palm, I have some different ferns. On my front porch ferns, I always use Kimberly queen ferns because they can take the south full sun really well. There is some lamb's ear in the back here because, again, we have south brunt sun all day long. It heats up the concrete a lot, which really heats up whatever plant is there. And really, Russian sage is one of the things that has done best, along with, you can see here again, all of that lamb's ear in front just fills in, and it likes dry, it likes hot, and it likes sun. Living in this house now, my grandparents had lived here before me, but living in here 15 years now this year, which is really weird to say, I feel like I'm starting to really understand different parts of the yard, and I've adapted to knowing what does well there. You know, the parts that stay dry, the parts that get full sun, the parts that get the hot summer wind. You know, all those things play into kind of how I plant and what I plant where. Because even the shade I have, it really is mostly a dry shade, which is why I do supplement with water some. But you're gonna be able to see now what that supplementation allows me to kind of enjoy the little bit of shade I have. So from the front porch right there, we have the front yard that faces south. All the arborvitae trees that are going into their third year also are doing so well. We've had really good rain the last couple years, so they're just quite happy. And then we come to the path. So this pathway is under a big old maple and a big old crab tree. The crabapple tree, I will say, the Japanese beetles have hit it pretty hard, so you see a lot of yellowing or kind of brown leaves that are falling off now because they've been eaten so much by Japanese beetles. It's just such a big tree, and honestly, I don't find it worth it to put anything harmful on the tree because it doesn't hurt the tree, it just doesn't look great. But underneath it, we have lots of beautiful hosta and the Aurelia. So this is Gotimba Aurelia, kind of like a Sun King Aurelia, but it's Gotimba. And what I like about it is look how well it does in the semi-dry shade that I do supplement with water. So you see some drip line there. It does get some water as needed when we're not getting rain, but that allows for me to enjoy these hosta, which usually wouldn't do well here. What's nice about this Aurelia, there's 5 of that beautiful, I just planted these 2 this spring, but you can see they've put on new growth too. And once they're established, they do well in semi-dry heat. Now I know some people don't like blooms on hosta, and I will say they look a little haphazard. I have not gone in and cut them yet. I might. I, for some reason, feel a little bit bad for the plant. It feels like it went to all this work. I kind of just want to let it enjoy its bloom here for a little bit. But eventually I may go and trim some of these out since they're coming over the path so much. We have Kip out here helping this evening on our walk. Right, Kip? Are you helping us? You taking us around? He is. As we're coming up into here, so this side of the path, I have really decided that next year I want to work on just a little bit. I think even though they're not going to like being moved because they have a taproot, I'm going to try to move a couple of the Baptisia a little bit more to the back. And in front, I want to do a few more of kind of mass plantings of some Nepidas, maybe some Veronicas, some different things like that, just because I just think it could use a little bit more this time of year. So I have a lot of the Terra dropseed, prairie dropseed grass, Terra variety, which on this side you can tell I have really let fill in, and that's what I really like about it is it really just creates this kind of nice texture. But on this side, I think I need more groupings of it to really start showing it off. So I think I'm going to try to next year kind of reposition some of the things over on this side just so I can have more impact. But what I really love, if we kind of step out so we can see this little seating area, I like how it's starting to really become enclosed. So we have this Northwind maple that I planted this spring. It will get beautiful fall color. It eventually will get obviously much bigger, but it will offer kind of a nice dappled kind of effect here. It doesn't get a dense growth to it, so I think it's going to look really nice against these bent willow chairs. And right now, the Anise hyssop, or Igastaki Blue Fortune, is just beginning to bloom and really filling in. Every time I turn the camera, either front facing or back facing, I usually stop because I see a weed. That's how I weed, is anytime I'm out here, if I'm walking through or doing something else, like right now I see a weed, I just go through and I weed all the time. So I'm never just having one constant, like this is my weeding time. It's always just, if I'm walking through, if I see a weed, I weed, because then it never feels like near as big of a thing. So coming around this corner is another one of my favorite spots because everything has really filled in. That it's amazing, 3 years ago, none of this existed. So as we come to the corner of this pathway, I have this big millstone that was sunk into the path. And right here as you turn, do you see how you just feel almost encapsulated? So that's what I really love here. We have lots of Baptisia right here. We have the Agastache Blue Fortune. I even have some Goldstrom Rudbeckia poking out. But it just creates these little moments where you have to kind of weave around, and I really want that. I wanted that effect of feeling like things were falling onto the path. I think it makes it feel established. I also did do a little bit of, I'm starting to rethink some of the, oh, look at this big bumblebee as we're talking. Oh, there it goes, look at that big thing. Do you see it? Oh, look at that. I love those big bumblebees. Just so happy in the Culver's root. So I decided to get rid of my calamint that was all along this path. I just had the straight older variety. If I could have found Montrose White, that's what I would have planted. The old variety was taking over to a point where I was not gonna be able to manage it. So I have put some extra plugs of my Summer Magic Nepeta, and they're actually starting to grow pretty well already. I did cut back a lot of the Caradonna Salvia. I'm gonna let that reflush out, but right now, we're just into the high time. We're all the way down, you're getting these highlights of the Goldstrom Rudbeckia. My goal, it's a goal, and I haven't necessarily always gotten there yet, is trying to have things that are blooming continually throughout the summer, especially along this big perennial path along the bed. And I feel like I'm getting there, especially as I see the Rudbeckia just beginning right now. The Sangusorbia hasn't even started. We'll be showing that. And right now the Agastache is just getting started. So this spring I had the Caradonna Salvia. I had the Nepeta with the Summer Magic Nepeta. The Millennium Allium is kind of in between that. The Baptisia was really early. So we have all these different flowers all throughout the way, but then they all offer color and texture on their foliage too. As we walk down the path, we're just about to where I added on to it last year and where I really deepened the bed too, so it could be a lot more. This is one of my favorite things. Do you see how the sun, since it's getting lower, is starting to create long shadows within this perennial bed? I really love that because it kind of offers highlights and lowlights and kind of all this different texture. And what's nice is after I get out of these arborvitae, do you see how it just opens up and you can get the view? You get the view of just kind of the horizon. You get our farm fields that my family farms here all around me. And really when everything is green and beautiful like this, it's showing off. I haven't added my fence yet. I want to put that in still this summer, but I want this path right here that leads kind of more to my prairie right now. I want it to come up to a split rail fence. So I haven't planted anything really in the back here yet. So you can see there's some open space so I can put my fence in. This woodward arborvitae will actually get to the same size as these, which are over 6 feet tall now, which I really like. They're supposed to be around 6 to 8 foot, and that's what they're getting to. And when this one grows in, it will also kind of just intersect with the Niagara arborvitae right beside it, and it will hide my LP tank back there, which is perfect, which provides gas to my house. But as we come back in, you can kind of just see from my shadow even, this view to me is what I was always hoping for. I cut back these Caradonna Salvia. You can kind of see here too, when things are given a little bit more space and more full sun. So this salvia and all these plants get more full sun. They have a little bit more space to them. They don't quite flop over as much as the ones that get a lot more shade behind these arborvitae. So just kind of a different habit when they have different space forms. This is all the Summer Magic Nepeta. I trimmed it back and you can see, just like that cat's pajamas out front, has lots of new shoots. So in a couple weeks here, I think it's gonna be full of blooms again, which I really like. The blue agave is super happy in its home. It just has exploded and just looks so perfect. Like it looks like a statue, like it could be fake. And that's what I just really love that agave. As we work down, so this is all the Sangusorbia back here. Do you see how it has almost a tropical-like look to it? And these shoots that are coming up tall, those are going to be the blooms that get really tall, wispy. It's red burnet variety of Sangusorbia. It's just so fun to have it, and it just kind of dances in the wind. If you remember, I do the chop and drop method on all this bed. So while it looks like a lot, it is a lot. All I do to it is, in the spring, I see a weed. In the spring, I chop things back if they're too big and woody, but otherwise I take my push mower And I go in, I'm getting my weed. I go in and I just push mow over everything, and it chops it up and it drops it because I have a self mulcher on it, so it doesn't push it out. It just keeps it under and it chops it up. And so then it actually self composts in this area, which I really like. The one change I made here was I moved Millennium Allium that were kind of in the middle of the bed, and I moved them all out to the front because they were going to get lost. So I replaced them with a Joe Pyeweed, the Phantom variety. And that will offer a little bit more height for that middle of bed, and it will offer that kind of late season bloom too. As we go on down, we're getting right into the area where I planted those 18 new trees. So I trimmed back again the salvia, so I know that will be blooming. I have some old-fashioned hydrangea there. I think they're PG hydrangea. So they get pretty big here eventually, but I kind of tucked them in back there. There's mountain mint in the back. The rudbeckia, though, right now is kind of the main event. But if you remember, I did a video on all my new plantings in around all these trees. So I planted 18 Emerald City, which is a cross between a sycamore and a tulip tree. And they have that great dark green glossy foliage. And eventually I will keep them trimmed and hedged. Right now, obviously, they're just getting started because I just planted them this year. But if you remember, underneath them, I planted plugs and nothing larger than a 4-inch perennial. So all of these started off either as a plug, which all this Nepeta that's in big, big, beautiful masses, these were all really small plugs. And honestly, I'm shocked at the amount of growth they have put on. Once that summer heat hit, they just took off. And that's really everything. So while over on kind of the more established part, last year when I was planting all these plants, I planted, just because of what I could find and what was available, I planted gallon-sized perennials. All these were 4-inch or smaller. And I did that on purpose. I wanted to show that, as I knew, perennials, it doesn't matter what size you start with. Within a season, within 1 year, you're gonna get to the same established size. That's what's great about perennials. Unlike maybe some trees and shrubs where they will give you some more size for longer if you start with a larger size, even though smaller sizes usually still, like within 10 years, they're probably about the same size. Perennials, you're no further ahead really planting a gallon. It just depends what size you can find and when you can find it. So this whole side, I planted plugs or 4-inch size. This side I planted gallon. By next year, this will also, they'll all look the same and you'll have no idea what I started with. So that's why don't ever feel like you need to spend always the most money on a perennial. Just getting it in the ground, it's gonna grow really quickly. I know you guys probably can't hear it, but the Nepeta, the summer magic especially, it's just a buzz with bees right now. So that's what I really love about it, is how the pollinators, this is kind of just like a pollinator haven, this garden out here. There is also lots of Carl Forster grass over here that offers kind of that structure every so often. I really like, see how tall it gets back there? It's just a beautiful spot now that I have a table here. You can just sit and enjoy and kind of just like take it all in. And it's just really been fun to watch it kind of grow without really too much on my part taking care of it. Once, other than watering it a little bit when it was just kind of getting started, the rain has now been watering it and it's been just doing really well. But let's keep walking over here to the vegetable garden because you can see as we're going, Kip is welcoming us. So all my hot peppers, so these are all hot peppers right here. I plant the hot peppers at my house, the sweet peppers over at Mom's, and I have a tomatillo over on this bed at the end. So all of these are starting to bear fruit actually, and they're all starting to grow a lot. I was having a problem with rabbits eating them off in the beginning. They're now finally getting to a place where they're getting big enough that I don't have to worry about that. The tomatoes are getting nice and big. I mean, look at some of the growth on these. So this year, I'm not taking off all the suckers like I have other years. I am trying to always take off continually from the ground up at least 1 to 1.5 feet and just continually taking up more leaves as needed. I don't want the leaves to touch the ground. I also, which here I need to take some off. I also don't want water to splash up on them. That's gonna cause more disease. Tomatoes in general, anytime you wanna rotate beds, that's one of your best spots. Don't have them in the same spot for 4 to 5 years, but also take all the leaves up so they don't touch the ground, so water doesn't splash on them, or from the ground, as in for soil doesn't splash on them. That's gonna help kind of slow down that disease going to the plant. Once you start seeing some blight or something, always remove those leaves, discard them, don't keep them in the garden. But other than that, tomato season, I've already gotten a couple of my Sun Sugar tomatoes off. I started my cucumbers really late. just because time, and I also like to put them out more closer to the summer solstice. I think they grow really quickly at that point. I also think I get through certain insect issues like vine borers and stuff, it seems like, so they're not quite as bad if I start them later. Behind me, I don't show this too often, right off the vegetable garden, I let these sunflowers always reseed themselves. I let all the celosia here reseed itself. It's just beginning to want to bloom. I also put some dahlias in that were from a friend this year. So I just put in 4 stakes, and I will be putting up some twine to kind of create a grid and a crosshatch here, just so as the dahlias grow, the wind here from the west or the south with storms doesn't blow them over. Obviously they're a later bloomer, but you can see how healthy and vigorous they are. On the other side of this bed is my okra, and I'll show you here actually all the this is all the damage from Japanese beetles. So, you know, I find every year it seems like Japanese beetles go for more and more things. I'm inundated with them. I have tried all forms of things. Obviously, I do not like the traps. I think the traps are a joke. I know some people like them, but all you're doing is really just trapping some and bringing more into your yard. But it's an ongoing issue. It's one that I haven't found the perfect answer for, but I'm always looking. Weather, environment, insects, plants, they're always changing, and so we always just have to adapt, and that's what I've kind of been doing. And with Japanese beetles, I haven't found a great answer. I've tried everything. If you guys have some good answers that you think work, let me know. Eggplant are blooming. Beets are just about ready. Carrots are just about ready. Beets are right here, they're just about ready. I could use the tops, obviously, if I want to, but Swiss chard is in the beet family too. It's a silver beet, and that's what often I use when I want those types of greens. This is all my carrots. Behind me is all of my brassicas, which are pretty much now done. I have a couple head of cabbage yet to get in, and the rest that's under there is just my broccoli that I'm letting, you know, it creates little florets all throughout the season. So I have a beautiful Famosa, which is a Savoy cabbage variety. So I'll be getting that in here really soon. And then a couple Tete Nor, they're a purple cabbage that they're a little bit always slower for me. Some beautiful kale behind me. It's such a fun time of year. And we haven't even gotten into some of the best vegetables or fruits with tomatoes. Okay, so from here we're gonna walk back up into where I planted all of my herbs. So this year, instead of putting them in the garden, I put them in containers all around kind of my fire pit area, which is right off of my pathway. I think they've been doing really well, honestly. I think what's nice about them is they're a little bit closer to the house, so I can grab them a lot easier. And I don't then feel like I need to put ornamental pots here because the herbs can be ornamental. This is a rosemary topiary, obviously. I've had this for years. The back of it was kind of a little sad early this spring, but it's actually doing pretty well. I have all of my fig trees here. This one is not ready yet. This is a mission fig, I believe, or a brown turkey. And it's always a little bit later, but you can see it has lots of figs on it. Italian parsley, that's the type of parsley I like. Oregano and sage and bronze fennel, which I just think is beautiful. We have some bay topiaries, but I actually love using bay, so I use it a lot. Right here is a Corky's Delight fig, which this one might have a couple that are almost ready, like, ooh, another day or two on this one. I go by how they feel, and I feel like there was one. Okay, that's a really small one, but it actually is ready. It's very, very small, but you can tell it's tender, so it's ready to go. Basil, thyme, more rosemary, more bronze fennel. You know, honestly, the bronze fennel is a really wonderful habitat for black swallowtails. So you'll find the caterpillars on here, you'll find the butterflies around it. It's what I really love. And then mint, of course, always in a container because I don't want to take over my garden. As I was talking, I can see I have not been taking care of my basil. As you know with most herbs, like my thyme right here is blooming, I need to cut it all back too. Herbs continue to grow foliage if you nip them back. So I'll take this into use, obviously, but nip back all of your herbs continually because once they start blooming, they think they're done. And you don't want them to be done because you want to keep using them unless you're just growing them for ornamental reasons, then you can do whatever you want. But if you keep nipping them back and kind of snipping them back to where there's another set of leaves, they keep growing more foliage, and that's really what we want because that's what's going to give it to you all summer long then, going to make sure you have plenty to use all throughout the season, because if you just kind of stop using it, then it thinks you're done with it, right? So you don't want that. So continually be using your herbs. Take them in, let them dry. You can even, freeze them. You can chop fresh herbs, put them in oil, freeze that in ice cube trays, and then use that in different things you make. There's so many ways to preserve herbs. that there's always a way to use them and save them. From here you can see my agave and aloe tables kind of being taken over by the Joe Pye weed behind it. I'm fine with that. You know what? Why not? I just have some different assortments of pups here that I've potted up from other agave or echeveria, kalanchoe. There's even a couple cactus, which I'm not usually into. This bed on the other side has some beautiful Seaside Serenade Bar Harbor series hydrangea. They're more of a smooth hydrangea that do really well, like an Annabelle, that do really well in sun, but also stay upright with the weather. All along the back of the shed. This is kind of, I feel like right now, in a little bit of a period where it's kind of in waiting. So it had obviously a lot of peonies early on. It had a whole flush of blooms from the Above and Beyond roses. There's 2 of them, but the blooms are beautiful. Now the Japanese beetles have kind of taken over them. And so I'm just not even gonna look at them for a while. But the Millennium Allium are just about to bloom. We also have some garden phlox that are just beginning. I think this is a variety I've had for years, and I think it's called Laura. It's one of my favorites, and I really would like to add a lot more of it all the way down because I'm noticing right now I don't have a lot of blooms. And so there was, right here is a different type of stockies. This is Humalo Bettany. That was blooming, it's kind of getting over with. There's some Millennium Allium that haven't bloomed yet and some Summer Beauty Allium. I see a weed I need to get. So for those of you that don't think I have weeds, I definitely do. And this is a big one. We don't like weeds. Again, my goal is to always have blooms. I'm always kind of assessing beds, and it just depends where I want to put my time and effort into. This bed does have actually blooms. It's just kind of right in between right now, but the Millennium Allium are just about to start up, which is nice. I did put in a new tree right behind me. I did a video on it. It will hopefully be growing and happy in years to come. It's a black gum. I really like it. It's an afterburner. It's beautiful fall color, kind of a pyramidal shape. It's diversity for me. I do not have any black gums here actually, which is really sad. I always want to get, if I don't have a tree, I want to add a different type of tree so I don't all have all the same type. And it's a beautiful shape, it's beautiful foliage on it. So I think that would be a really fun one to have. So another place I kind of revamped was right here on the south side of the shed this year, where I added a lot more of the Biacovo geranium. So it's a cranesbill geranium all along the front. But then with it, I interspersed, if you can kind of see it down there, a whole bunch more of that stockies. So if I have exposed soil, like I did on this bed, I try to find ways to cover it up because we don't want exposed soil. I don't usually show this side of my house because it's always what I call the kind of so-so side. It's where the 2 air conditioner units are, which we all know aren't fun to hide. You can't hide them. They are what they are. Obviously, I plant around them as I can. But there was a lot of, again, of that Humalo Bettany stockies that had just gotten kind of through its first full, beautiful flush of blooms. It was beautiful. We have 2 different, there's the Alpine variety and then more of like a bubblegum variety, I believe. I think that's the shorter variety. And then the Alpine is more the taller variety. But it did so well here. But intermixed back here, I finally feel like I'm getting stuff to at least fill in. So we have lots of stockies. I have some different grasses even. I have that Gotimba Aurelia. I have a big elfinier that a friend gave me. So this area actually has been filling in, and it's an area of the house I don't really see from the house. So I just wanted something that kind of made it feel filled in, but didn't really need a lot of care. And none of this really does. And now you can see kind of the back view of the hosta bed that when I was walking on the path you can't see. It's actually filled in a lot for me. There's lots of Linton roses here too, hellebores. So I'm hoping, those keep getting bigger, but you can see it's kind of really started to fill in, and I really love this container right here. I didn't even get to show you this. It's, I think, coffee cups elfinier that I've had for years. And then we have that beautiful ivy and lemon coral sedum, and it just kind of is filling in. That's what I want. I wanted just to offer something that kind of fills in, and then all this prairie dropseed grass along this side. I planted a whole new row of plugs this year, so it will be even fuller next year as you see those small plugs in front. Just kind of the perfect spot. So that is our midsummer, I'll call it, garden tour. I did just eat a bite out of my fig. If you haven't had figs, they're so good. This Corky's Delight is a green fig. More traditional are Mission or Black Turkey, those dark, deep purple ones. But, the garden is ever changing. It's kind of, I've been lucky last year and this year that we've had really good rain. It's kept the grass green. It's kept everything putting on a lot more growth. You can just tell the trees are more dense, foliage is darker. It's just like everything is a little bit happier the last couple of years. So I've been really lucky in that because it's more fun to garden when your garden is happy, right? Even if you can water things, it's never the same as getting good rain. So it's just been a really kind of exciting couple of years to feel like I'm able to watch things grow and kind of settle in more than I have other years, right? I think that's what we all want as gardeners, to see the growth, to see the change. So it's really fun that we've been getting there, and I hope you enjoy seeing it too. Let me know what you're doing in your garden, what you're kind of seeing. I see a bare spot actually right now in flower bed thinking, why did I not plant something there? It's a new spot for me to go get something to put. So I hope you're having a beautiful garden season too. I hope you're able to kind of sit back and enjoy it this time of year. That's what we need to do. Instead of just weeding and working, we need to enjoy it some too. So let me know how you're doing. Can't wait. See you soon, friends.